Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad bin Ahmad Shobirin, and today I will be talking about my assignment for interpersonal communication, which is about artifacts and also the environment in my room. So for my artifact, my precious artifact is my blanket. So this blanket, I have had this since I was in primary school, if I'm not mistaken, since I was standard 5. So basically my blanket originally was from Melaka in my hometown. And since I really loved using it, every time I went to Melaka, I always use this blanket. My grandmother, basically when I was about to go home, she said to me, just take it home with me. So ever since I have been given this blanket, me and this blanket have been inseparable. We are always together. So what I like about this blanket is because if you look at the material, it's not too thin or too thick. So it gives the right amount of warmth whenever you are cold. So whenever I cold, I just do it like this. And yes, I use it as a blanket lah. And it's not too cold or too hot when I'm using it. It's just the right amount of warmth. And whenever I sleep, I need this blanket, because if I do not have this blanket, it becomes really hard for me to sleep, because I've always slept with it. And even if I'm not using it when I'm sleeping, I usually have it close with me. So whether I'm hugging it or just putting it aside me or at the bottom of my feet, basically it has to be near me when I sleep in order for me to have a good shut eye. So my blanket not only just physically warms me up, but it also emotionally supports me whenever I'm feeling down or not in the right state of mind. It's helped me go through a lot of tough times, and I'm very grateful to my grandmother who gave me this blanket. Because when I'm having a problem or going through a problem or having a life crisis, I always have this blanket near me, or either I'm wearing it or I'm just holding it, so that it calms the nerves down. Because when you have a problem, you usually not in the right state of mind. You have anxiety. So this blanket calms me down in order for me to think of the solution for my problem that I'm going through. And even if I'm not having a problem, when I'm just feeling down or blue, I usually have it with me so that it can help me. It warms my body, it warms my heart, so it helps me liften up my mood. This blanket really helps me emotionally and physically as well. Also, since my late grandmother was the person who gave me this blanket, it serves as an irreplaceable memento from her to me. So some days, for example, looking at my blanket gives me the warmth I feel whenever I look at my late grandmother's sweet face. So it really helps me remember about her and reminds me a lot of the times that I have with my grandmother. For me, this blanket really symbolizes how a very sentimental and simple of a person I can be, as I can find solace in a simple old stinky blanket. Yeah, I can find calmness. I can find I can be very comfortable, all thanks to this simple blanket. So basically, I'm a very simple guy, because these simple things can helps me become a better version of me. Also, as for the environment in my room, since I'm a very simple guy, I really dislike feeling stuffy. So I try to keep the amount of things in my room to the bare minimum. Because in my room there's only my bed, 2 tables for my books, my belongings, and also my PC, which holds my monitor, my PC, and my mouse, and a cupboard for to put all my clothes in. That's all. And for decorations, there's no decorations. There's no posters, there's no hanging lights. There's just the wall and the painting of the wall. That's all that is in my room, because I'm a very simple guy. I believe that my room says a lot about myself, because I like being free of worries and not have something weighing me down. So I don't like feeling stuffy, right? So when I see my room full of things, it makes me feel very uncomfortable. So I always keep the things in my room to the bare minimum. That's why my room is very, very simple. As for the question, what happens if my artifacts suddenly disappeared? well, if my blanket all of a sudden vanished, I think I would feel really incomplete in my life, because this blanket has always been with me since a young age, and it's been through a lot with me, right? The ups and downs. This blanket has always been with me, so I will feel incomplete, and I feel like there will be a gaping hole in my life lah. In my life, I eventually would learn to live without it, but it still won't be this. I eventually would be able to learn to live without it, but it still won't be the same, and I'm sure that even if it vanished, it will always stay on my mind. So thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye bye. So for the second question, which is mindful listening, reflect on a time when you wish that you have really listened. So in my life, I don't have that many regrets in life, but the ones I do have are things that I heavily regret. I usually find it hard to forgive myself for them. And one of them was not heeding the words of my lecturer during my first semester in UiTM in 2017. I originally took civil engineering, and during the first ever faculty meeting, the head coordinator at the time was giving an introduction on the course to us new students. And at the end of his introduction, he told us that the course can be really hard, but he highlighted that you can complain and whine about how hard all the things that you are learning, but never hate it. So when I heard the things he said at the time, I simply took it as simple wise words from an older person, right? I did not really listen or care to remember the words he said. So basically, it went from the right ear and went out the left ear, basically. But now I really regret not listening to what he had to say or what he was trying to get across. So here's the story. So after the meeting, the time flew by, and I slowly found myself getting worn down by the very difficult curriculum of my course, and I started to dislike the idea of even getting up in the morning to attend classes. So basically, every morning when I woke up to go to classes, I would feel very lethargic, and question why do I have to go to class? I began questioning what I'm learning, or what if I'm even learning anything. I'm not sure if I'm even learning anything, which caused me to develop a dislike towards the things that I was being taught. So this affected very much my performance and results of my studies, that eventually led me to getting really poor results. As example, on my third semester, I had to repeat 3 subjects. So in the end, I decided to quit because by that time my pointer was really low, around 1.9 average GPA, which is really bad. So I ended up deciding to quit and choose to pursue other options in furthering my studies. And coincidentally, on the day that I came to hand out the documents for me to quit my UiTM, I met my really close friend, and I had a conversation with him. And he always helps me. He's a very good friend. So I told him about my problem and why I'm doing this. So long story short, during the conversation, he brought up about what my course coordinator said, because he remembered those words. He remembers those words that I said early on, and he said the very exact words, which is, you can complain and whine about how hard the things that you are learning, but never hate it. From there, it all started to make sense. My performance in my studies started to take a dip when I started to hate what I was learning. And until this day, those words still echo in my mind from time to time, because I really regret not taking my coordinator's word to heart. And I believe that if I had listened to his word in earnest, things would be really different for me. So how has not listening effectively during that time affected my life? For me, it affected my life by giving me a very important lesson. That the lesson is very simple. When someone is giving you information, trying to tell you about something, trying to tell you for your future, basically, try to listen very carefully, and not just listen, but try to understand what he is trying to send out, the message that he's trying to send out. And for me, why was it important to listen in that situation? It was, I believe that that in that situation particularly, it was very important to me to listen to what he had to say. Because if I had listened to him, I would be really more ready about the hard curriculum. I would have prepared myself better and more mentally better. Because I believe that a bad mentality is accumulation of little things stacking up. So like in my story before, so I started to feel hard to go to classes, and then I started to question what I'm learning, and then I started to hate it. So for me, if I had listened to his words really carefully, I would have set my mind, stilled my mind, and pushed all those thoughts away, and maybe I could have had a better result, and maybe I would still pursue my studies in civil engineering. But whether or not I regret it, I believe that it taught me a very important lesson. I regret it, but I have accepted it lah. I have accepted it. So that's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye.